50 feet of muscle and teeth, a bite force strong enough to snap a car in half. And, for 20 million years, it owned the ocean. But here's the question nobody dares to ask. What if the Megalodon wasn't the final boss? What if, somewhere in the fog of deep time, something else was waiting that could actually make the ocean's greatest killer hesitate? Today, we're building the ultimate arena. No rules, no mercy, just the deadliest predators that ever swam, thrown into the same dark water as the largest shark to ever exist. And once the age of monsters ends, we're not stopping there. We're diving straight down, past the sunlight, past the pressure limits of the human body, into a world that still hides horrors, just as strange as anything from prehistory. Strap in. This is the story of the ocean's most terrifying killers, then and now. Let's start in the shallows, 25 million years ago, in the warm, churning seas where the Megalodon first rose to power. Before it ruled the oceans, it had to earn that throne, and its first real challenger wasn't some lumbering giant. It was fast, clever, and built like a torpedo made of muscle. Picture a whale no bigger than a modern dolphin, but armed with a mouth full of curved, blade-like teeth, built for shredding, not crushing. This was a predator that hunted in packs, ambushing prey in tight coastal waters, where size meant nothing and speed meant everything. Now drop a young Megalodon into that same water. At this stage, it isn't the 50-foot monster of legend yet. It's still growing, still learning, still vulnerable. A single one of these needle-toothed hunters might not stand a chance, but a pack, working together, striking from every angle, tearing at fins and gills before retreating into deeper water, that's a different story entirely. It's a brutal reminder that even nature's future apex predator once had to survive its own adolescence in a world full of teeth. Now, let's rewind even further, back before sharks like Megalodon ever existed, to the Triassic period, a time when the ocean was rebuilding itself after the worst extinction event in Earth's history. Life came back stranger, bigger, and hungrier than ever. And from the deep came something almost impossible to imagine. A sea creature, the length of a blue whale, with jaws large enough to swallow prey whole, patrolling oceans that had never seen anything like it. If we bend the rules of time and drop the Megalodon into these ancient Triassic waters, it would be entering a fight completely out of its era. This colossal beast didn't rely on speed or ambush. It relied on sheer, overwhelming scale. Its bite could have ended the encounter in seconds. This wouldn't be predator versus predator. This would be a shark meeting something that made the entire ocean feel small. But size isn't the only weapon nature has ever built. Millions of years after the Triassic giants faded into fossils, the seas produced something even stranger, a predator with a spiral of teeth curling out of its lower jaw, like a circular saw blade. Scientists still argue about exactly how this bizarre weapon worked, but one theory is chilling enough on its own. It may have sliced through prey with a rotating, blade-like motion, shredding soft-bodied animals with mechanical precision. Against Megalodon, this creature wouldn't win through brute strength. It would win through sheer unpredictability, a weapon so alien that nothing else in the ocean had ever evolved to counter it. In a straight fight, Megalodon's raw power would likely dominate. But in the story of prehistoric oceans, it's proof that evolution didn't just build bigger monsters. It built weirder ones. Then, there's the true heavyweight division, the era when Megalodon shared its throne with a whale that had gone from gentle filter feeder to full-blown apex predator. Picture something built like a sperm whale, but armed with teeth the size of bananas, hunting other whales for a living. This wasn't a scavenger. This was an ocean-going war machine, powerful enough to leave bite marks on the skulls of prey animals twice the size of a modern orca. If these two titans ever crossed paths in the same hunting grounds, it wouldn't have been a chase. It would have been a collision. Two apex predators, evolved independently to dominate the same food chain, forced to test which design nature actually favored, the shark's raw bite force, or the whale's brute force jaw strength and mammalian intelligence. Paleontologists still debate who would come out on top. What we do know is that the ocean was never big enough for both of them to rule quietly, and evidence suggests they very likely competed for the exact same prey. And then, of course, there's the reptile that ruled the seas long after the dinosaurs took over the land. A colossal marine lizard with double rows of teeth and jaws that could unhinge to swallow prey nearly its own size. Streamlined, aggressive, and built for open water combat, this predator represents an entirely different evolutionary experiment. Reptile versus fish, cold ambush versus warm-blooded aggression. Against Megalodon, the outcome would likely come down to one brutal factor: endurance. The shark's biting power was devastating, but this reptile's flexible jaw and thrashing bite-and-shake style of attack made it a nightmare in close combat. It's the kind of matchup that reminds us prehistoric oceans weren't ruled by one bloodline of monster. They were ruled by whoever adapted fastest. Long before any of these giants existed, though, the ocean had already produced a predator that didn't need speed, size, or even proper teeth to be terrifying. Imagine a fish encased in bone, its head and shoulders wrapped in thick armored plates instead of scales, with jagged, blade-like edges where teeth should be, self-sharpening with every bite. This was one of the first true apex predators the planet ever produced, ruling the seas hundreds of millions of years before Megalodon was even a possibility. If the two ever met, it would be a clash of completely different eras of evolution. The armored predator's bite has been estimated among the most powerful of any fish that ever lived, capable of shearing through the shells and bones of anything unlucky enough to get caught in its jaws. Megalodon would bring speed and agility this ancient tank never had to work with. But that armor plating wasn't just for show. It was a shield built by hundreds of millions of years of trial and error, and it might have been just enough to survive the first strike. By now, one thing should be clear: Megalodon wasn't just fighting for survival against other sharks. It was fighting an entire ocean full of experiments, reptiles, whales, and creatures with no modern equivalent at all. And when Megalodon finally vanished around 3.5 million years ago, it didn't take the ocean's horror with it. It just handed the crown to something far less visible. Because 2.5 miles beneath the surface, in a place called the Mariana Trench, the pressure is more than 1,000 times what you feel standing on land. No sunlight has ever touched this world. And yet, it's not empty. It's full. Down here lives something straight out of nightmare fuel. A worm that can grow over 10 feet long, buried in the seafloor with no eyes and no visible face, waiting motionless for the vibration of something swimming too close. When prey brushes past, it strikes in a fraction of a second, dragging its victim underground before it even understands what happened. There is no warning. There is no escape. There is only the sudden, silent pull beneath the sand. And the deep doesn't stop there. Long before sailors ever spun tales of the Kraken dragging ships beneath the waves, something real was already down there to inspire the legend. A creature with eyes the size of dinner plates, arms lined with hundreds of gripping suckers, and a body that can stretch longer than a school bus. For centuries, it was dismissed as myth. Then modern cameras finally caught it on film, alive, in its own world. Proof that the ocean had been hiding a real-life sea monster the entire time. And perhaps strangest of all are the survivors. Creatures so ancient, they were swimming these same waters before the dinosaurs even existed, and somehow lived through every mass extinction that followed. A fish with strange, fleshy, limb-like fins, once thought extinct for 65 million years, until fishermen accidentally hauled one up from the deep, very much alive. A living fossil. A message from a world we thought had disappeared forever. So here's the truth this journey leaves us with. The age of monsters never really ended. Megalodon may be gone, but the ocean that built it is still building horrors of its own. Right now, in the dark, just a few miles beneath the boats, sailing peacefully above. We've barely scratched the surface of what's actually down there. If there's one predator, ancient or modern, you think could have actually beaten Megalodon in a fair fight, drop it in the comments below. And because the deep is far from finished revealing its secrets.